Oh.
Chips.
Chippy chips.
Oh, fuck.
Ooh. Someone's doing it right.
Hey, got the best of me there. Bit off a little more than I could chew. You know what I'm saying?
Oop.
All right.
Didn't they make chocolate Ritz one time?
I don't know. That sounds awesome, though. I would love some chocolate Ritz. You know what? You know what I do love though? Those Mr. Flips chocolate covered pretzels. We also have the white fudge covered pretzels. That shit is so good.
Yeah, salt and chocolate, baby. And that's what does it.
Give me that sweet and savory.
Oh,
Fuck! Look what time it is.
I don't even know. I lost track a long time ago.
Yeah. You know what though? It's showtime and we don't even have anything to talk about.
Well, guys, it's true. We're going to have to dig into our little pile of stuff that we can't research well enough to do a show on, don't have enough to do a show on, or...
Yeah, there's a lot of tidbits that are out there that's like, oh, that's a fun story, but that would take us like 5 minutes to talk about. And we're always like, man, maybe we could find similar things and talk about it. And then there's times when it's just like there's no rhyme or reason. We just have all this random shit lying around that we wanted to talk about, and so now it's time to talk about it. But really, it's because I haven't had time to research anything because I'm moving. So just to give you guys a heads up beforehand, we will not be having a show next week because I am actually moving. So really, by when you hear this show, I will be in the process of moving into my new house, but we won't be recording a show next week for the following week into the future. And anyway, when you're hearing this, there won't be a show next week, is the bottom line. And we'll still have something for Patreon, so if you're a patron, thank you. We love you. Big sloppy mouth kisses for all of you. And for those that don't know, we've got a Patreon. We put out special stuff, sticker club, all that stuff. Go to the Patreon page. You can find all the details. It's awesome. We have a good time, and there'll be a show there next week. So if you're really missing us, you can join Patreon. Even if you just join for a month just to listen to that one episode because you really miss us and then you quit. Thank you anyway.
Yeah.
But because of all that, we've got to reach into the bag of sexiness and pull out these weirdo stories that we couldn't really fit into any other show. Plus, there's current events involved as well. So, yada, yada, yada.
Some of these are cool, but like we said, just not enough to cover in detail. And a couple that I might pull up, you can't really research some of these stories. They're just cool stories. And we try our best not to just regurgitate things and actually research things. And I don't know, Mike, what would you say like our criteria is? Like if we can cross-reference something over 3 different platforms, then we'll try to report on that. But if it's just a one-time thing, we usually try to say, and if we find something that's a one-time thing and scarce, we just won't cover it. But that's what today's for. We've done a random weirdness show before, and that's what we're going to do is random weirdness number 2. That was a rhyme. It keeps happening.
Oh, he's reciting poetry on the show. It's beautiful.
Thank you.
Just picture a bunch of beatniks doing that with me.
Oh, I will. I'm in a coffee house with a single spotlight. I got a scarf on.
Some dude with bongos in the background just laying down a random beat to your rhymes.
And then somebody who looks exactly like me just comes in and starts punching everybody in the face for no reason.
Yeah, goddamn doppelgangers.
All right, Mike, you reach into the bag first, man.
Okay, let me check this out. Hold on, I gotta grab the bag. Let me just. All right. Yes, my bag has a zipper on it. It's the only way to keep everything secure. All right. So first up is this crazy Jetman story that just has recently been reported on, and this was I guess it happened last Sunday. So because we record in the past, it would be Sunday, August 30th, I believe was the date. But
yeah,
it was widely reported on Wednesday, September 2nd. It is now presently September 4th that we are recording this. So, that's just to, anyway, it recently happened, and it was reported by 2 pilots that as they were flying into LAX, they were at about 3,000 feet, and they reported seeing what looked like a person with a jetpack flying in the skies at their level. So they reported it in, and the FBI is investigating it now.
Yeah, you sent me this report, and they had a little news clip with this report. You laugh when you first hear it. It's just all the news reports just say jetpack man seen by pilots, and that can mean anything. But when you hear the report and what actually happened, it's fucking downright bizarre. They're saying this, they play the audio of the pilots reporting this, and they're very, very sincere. And they say there's a guy with a jetpack over here on our right side. And there's no laughing from them. There's no hesitation. There's nothing fishy about their voice. And to have 2 different pilots from 2 different companies report this is very interesting. And I was watching this and going, hold on, I got to look up jetpacks now, because we basically don't have jetpacks. We're seeing some of the hydro packs where people are being shot up by water, and they have these high turbine ones where people are flying around over water and shit like that. But then this news report started talking to some specialists, and they said that they don't have jetpacks really, and these planes were at 3,000 feet. I mean, they tried to explain this away that they were in an airplane above them, and he jumped out of the airplane and flew next to this plane and then just flew down to Earth from 3,000 feet. So it really doesn't make sense. So Jetpack Man might sound like a cool headline, but they're really talking about something that's not explainable, right?
I mean, that's what it sounds like. And there have been reports of flying humanoids in Mexico as well. And I feel like I remember one. It looked like a guy it looked legitimately like a guy with a jetpack, but he was flying upright above a line of trees. So it wasn't like he wasn't super high up, but that one was, I think, from the early 2000s. But there was another case where a pilot reported seeing something very similar. This was back in 2014, though, and it was called the Superman of Macclesfield. It took place in the UK. And in this incident, the flying humanoid was sighted at 3,500 feet. And the pilots of an Airbus 320 saw it. And saw this thing coming up on them. I believe it was coming up on the left side. And it ended up flying past them. So it was not only able to catch up to this plane, but it flew past it.
Whoa.
And they said it looked like a flying humanoid, and when it flew past, they didn't see any sort of equipment on its back. So there's nothing, like there was no pack for a parachute or a hang glider or anything like that. And it didn't appear on the radar, and it just flew past them, and then it was gone. It just came from nowhere, flew past them, disappeared into, just off into the distance, gone.
That's insane. That's like an actual Superman sighting. It didn't come up on radar because he's made of flesh and bone.
Yeah. Yeah. So I don't I wonder if this was the same thing, because I wonder if the pilots just saw somebody flying, or if they actually legitimately saw a jetpack, like with a fucking little flame coming out, like the Rocketeer or something.
Yeah, that's a good point. I wonder if they're just describing it like that because that's the closest thing that it could have been. They're not really saying what they saw.
Yeah, right. But it's I mean, it's really interesting in the especially in this time period when we're getting, it seems like almost monthly new news about UFOs and the military involvement or the government involvement, and now we're seeing flying humanoids. Like, are we jumping from the sightings of craft to the sightings of actual beings now? Is this going to start being a thing?
Dude, I wanted to talk to you about that because I think that's exactly what we said when we talked about when they had recovered off-world vehicles in the show that we did about that. I think we actually said we're going to see Iron Man flying around soon. And it kind of seems that way. Do you think that it's just like we said, we're going to start seeing weirder shit like this? And then maybe in 10 years, they're going to say, oh, yeah, that's our pilots testing the Space Force suit.
Yeah, I could definitely see that. I could absolutely see something like that happening.
That's so funny. We're all wondering why they're releasing all this UFO shit. And they're like, oh, just get used to the crafts because some weird shit's coming.
Yeah. Yeah. But it is interesting though, like the entire UFO phenomenon, like how it evolved and how you see differences in the craft. And it seems like over time that evolves. Like the early craft were, even before the Kenneth Arnold sighting, they were like these phantom rockets that were being seen.
Right.
And nobody knew what they were. They were just these rockets that were flying by with a flame coming out the back of them, and no one knew what they were. They were just flying, cruising around. And then you had the like cylinder type sightings, or the big like tubes. And then Kenneth Arnold said flying saucer, but what he described was not a flying saucer, but then actual disc-shaped craft started being seen. Those were like the big ones, that the major sightings. And then we started getting the black triangles, and then we have the stealth bomber that comes out. Now we have bigger black triangles that are being seen that don't show up on radar and that are able to fly super slow, like almost like they're inflatable or something. And now we're getting people with fucking jetpacks.
Yeah, I'm going to keep my eyes peeled on this one. I want to see if anybody interviews these pilots who saw this thing. I want to know if there was a jetpack or if that's just what they're calling it. They called Mothman Birdman before they called him Mothman. I wonder if they're just giving this thing a name or just only describing the best of what they saw, because I want to know if this thing had a jetpack. That's weird. I didn't know about that earlier case in 2014, because for them to say they didn't see any equipment, I mean, Jesus, a flying person that's as fast as a plane.
Yeah. So there is one thing about the Superman of Macclesfield, though. And it seems more like it's like it was an attempt at marketing by this guy. But there's a stuntman named Gary Connery, and when the story came out in 2014, he posted a link on his Facebook page that said, haha, me in training for my very own www.stuntchallenge.com, or whatever the British, I think it's .co.uk. But to me that sounds like he's like, yeah, I do this crazy shit, come see my thing. Like, I don't think it was necessarily him admitting. I think it was more him using that as like a marketing thing. And he was contacted by news organizations, and he at that point would neither confirm or deny if that was him. So to me, it doesn't sound like it was him. It sounds like he was just kind of trying to piggyback off of it for marketing purposes.
Yeah, saw that and just commented, "Damn, I'm good."
Yeah, but the pilot and his first officer, they both saw it, and they thought that at first they thought the person was a paraglider, but they never saw anything attached to him.
Wow, that's incredible.
Yeah.
Like I said, I look forward to seeing what comes of this. I'm sure they're not going to report any further on this unless it's seen again. Maybe we'll get some footage, and then we'll see if it has a jetpack. Maybe it's just on its way to a national park trying to rescue some kids.
Or maybe the national park is unleashing flying night crawlers now. They're going to start kicking planes down out of the sky. Just whoosh, roundhouse kicking planes, and they go plummeting to the ground and explosions.
Yeah, if the night crawlers ever come back, they're going to be pissed because everybody drew them as being cute and shit. And they're like, no, we're pure evil. And now we have to prove it to you people.
What it really was a giant barn owl. That's all. Just a misidentified giant barn owl.
A cloaking malfunction.
Where's Joe Nickel when you need him?
Yeah, exactly. Why hasn't he said anything about this?
Yeah, where's the barn owl, Joe? Come on. We need it. We need the barn owl in our lives.
You gotta clear this up for us, Joe, please.
Set everybody straight. It's not an alien. It's a goddamn barn owl. So yeah, definitely something to keep an eye on. See if we see anything more like this pop up.
Pop up.
Mm-hmm. What you got in your bag over there?
Oh, let me see. I've got mine in a big old book here. Let's see ooh, yeah, this one looks cool, dude. Now, this is a term I just came across, and apparently it's something that we know about. We've actually talked about one of these before. I've just never heard this term in particular. It's called a whale eater. Have you ever heard of that?
Is it a megalodon?
No, that's what I thought right away. But when it comes to cryptozoology, one of my favorite little nooks in the subject is living dinosaurs. We've both admitted to being nerdy, dinosaur-obsessed 80s kids.
Oh, so much.
Yeah.
So much. You should have seen when I was a kid, dude, and I'm sure you were probably the same way, but I had so many fucking dinosaur toys. Like, I had this whole setup on my dresser where, like, I would get rocks and set up these rocks, and then I had all my dinosaur toys, like, all lined up, so it was like this whole scene. I didn't even give a shit that some were from the Cretaceous and some were I didn't care. I had them all set up, and it was fucking awesome. Those were the 80s, man.
I had the whole matching bed set of dinosaur sheets and pajamas and pillowcases.
Me too. Was it the one where all the dinosaurs were like primary colors?
Yes, sir.
Like yeah, I had the same ones.
That's awesome.
God, the 80s were awesome. Do you remember when you'd buy the like plastic bag of dinosaurs? It was like a mixed bag with a bunch of different dinosaurs in it. And there were always those two things in it that were not dinosaurs. And I was like, what the fuck are those? Later in life, I found out that they were Dungeons and Dragons monsters.
Really?
One is a rust monster. Yeah. One's a rust monster. That's the one that has like the long tail thing and the antennas. That's a rust monster. And then there's one, it looks like like this big armored thing. Like, it looks like it could potentially be a dinosaur, but it's no dinosaur you've ever learned about because it's not really a dinosaur. It's a thing called a land shark or a boulet. And that's from at least I believe they were both in first edition Dungeons and Dragons, and I know for a fact they were also in second edition. I hope they're still around. I don't know. I haven't played anything since second edition. So if there's any nerds out there that play Dungeons and Dragons beyond second edition, because even to this day, in 2020, I still play second edition rules because I'm that much of an old man. But if any of you guys know, tell me if those are still in the game, because they're they're a slice of my childhood, and I didn't even realize it.
I wonder if those, little bags of dinosaurs still have those 2 random D&D characters in it.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't think you can buy those ones anymore. Like they destroyed the mold in like 1991 or something.
Yeah, I'm sure.
I don't know that for a fact, but I'm assuming that was around the time, because I remember they were all over the place in the 80s, and they would just have different paint jobs, but it would be the same mold, and like I can't even tell. I can picture in my head all of the dinosaurs that were in that bag right now. God damn. I just went way back to the 80s. Holy fuck.
Yeah, but I guess that's where our love for monsters probably began. I mean, I remember one of my first and most fondest memories when I was a kid was asking my mom, who gave 0 fucks about dinosaurs, if she thought they were cool at all. And she answered me with something that surprised me. She said that they were scary, and she called them monsters. And as I got older and I studied cryptozoology, I was pleasantly surprised to read about creatures that people were calling monsters, but I knew were dinosaurs. And we have stuff like Nessie. I mean, right off the bat, we all know that that's a plesiosaur. Mokele Mbembe wasn't some type of jungle monster. It was a brontosaurus. And even...
Remember that video back in the day? You and I both had it, but they talked about Mokele Mbembe in that video.
Yeah.
The one, what was it called? Was it Dinosaurs?
Yes, it was. That was the one.
Yeah.
And I think I found it on YouTube, so I'll put it in the show notes to see if anybody else watched it.
It's so good. I loved that shit.
Yeah.
But I remember them talking about Mokele Mbembe and how some of the natives said that they still hunted it. And when I was a little kid, that blew my mind. Because also being a kid from the 80s, there was a movie called Baby that was about baby brontosaurus that was taken out of the Congo. And that's really all I remember about it, because I saw it when I was a little kid, and I've not seen it since. But that I saw that, and then I saw the dinosaurs, and I was just like, oh my god, there's really a brontosaurus that lives in the jungles of Africa. That's amazing. Like, I was fully convinced. So even back then, I was, without even knowing that cryptozoology was a thing, I was super, like, I was in 100%. I'm like, fuck yeah, this is my jam.
Yeah, and that's partly due to loving dinosaurs. I mean, even your mega spider, Snooki Palupaba, could have been some still living prehistoric arachnid. I mean, even the ropin or pteranodon, right?
Yeah, or pterodactyl. I don't know what the difference is. I've forgotten most of my dino knowledge. Like, as a kid, I could have told you. Now, I know one's bigger than the other, and one has like a crest or something on their head, but I don't remember which was which. But yeah, it's a flying dinosaur of some sort, or a gliding dinosaur of some sort.
Yeah. Well, there's one that may have slipped right past us as being a creature that's being misidentified as a dinosaur. A living fossil dinosaur. Yeah.
Oh? What variety?
It's claimed to be seen in so many places all over the world for so long that it has a universal...
Is it a chicken?
No, it's
a chicken, isn't it?
It's the whale eater.
The whale eater?
Yeah.
Chickens don't eat whales, Mateo. That's just silly.
This animal's much cooler than a chicken. But like I mentioned, we've covered him before. Back in 1915 during World War I in the North Atlantic.
We didn't even have a show in 1915 back in World War I. We didn't cover it back then. You're lying, Mateo. You're lying to everybody.
There's so much time travel that we do. I could be telling the truth and they wouldn't know.
I don't remember going back to that time period, though. I feel like I would remember. Are you time traveling without me?
No, you have the machine.
Oh, likely excuse. You probably have a secret machine that you used to go on adventures without me, you son of a bitch.
Yeah, but in the North Atlantic, German submarine U-28 torpedoed a British steamer called Iberian. And the German officer in command, Captain Georg von Faustner.
Wait a second. Is this the exploding boat?
Yes, sir.
Crazy thing?
Yeah, we've covered this before,
one.
So I don't want to get into it too much. But I'm just
just give an overview.
I'm gonna read the quote from his report, just so people know what we're talking about. It says, On July 30th, 1915, our U-28 torpedoed the British steamer Iberian, carrying a rich cargo in the North Atlantic. The steamer sank quickly, the bow sinking almost vertically into the air. When it had gone for about 25 seconds, there was a violent explosion. A little later, pieces of wreckage, and among them a gigantic sea animal, was shot out of the water into to a height of 60 to 100 feet. At that moment, I had with me the chief engineer, the navigator, and the helmsman. Simultaneously, we all drew one another's attention to this wonder of the seas. We were unable to identify it. We did not have time to take a photograph, for the animal sank out of sight after 10 or 15 seconds. It was about 60 feet long, was like a crocodile in shape, and had 4 limbs with powerful webbed feet. So that's that old famous sighting, and apparently that's counted as a whale eater sighting. This is a specific type of dinosaur. It is a Kronosaurus or a Pliosaurus. So this whale eater is supposed to be that dinosaur.
What do they look like?
They look like giant crocodiles, but they have flippers instead of hands. You remember in Jurassic Park?
Oh,
that new one
I know what you're talking about.
jumps up and eats the shark? Yeah.
That's the one that jumps up and eats a shark. That's a mosasaur, isn't it?
Ooh, yeah, you're right. But it's like a cousin of his, same type of shape. It kind of looks like a crocodile. Not so much. I mean, that's somebody who's not familiar with those types of animals. The closest thing you could say is a crocodile. It just has a long, elongated snout type face. But that's, they say, is one of the earlier sightings, that's a recorded sighting of a whale eater. And there's an incident in 2012 that they're crediting to a whale eater attack. A 65-foot fin whale beached itself on the coast of St. Austell, England. And rescuers noted that the animal was extremely distressed. It was malnourished, and they tried their ass off to get it to go back into the water, and it just refused to. But they also noticed that it had multiple injuries on its face. And the people that were involved didn't think much about these wounds, but when the pictures and videos of this shit hit the internet did what the internet does. The photos show a row of slightly curved puncture marks that are evenly spaced along the lower right jaw of the whale. And internet sleuths or nerds, whatever you want to call them, started saying that they were bite marks. And they quickly matched up those bite marks to the pattern of a Weymouth Bay Pilosaur. And that's a type of dinosaur that is native to this area, or was. Then the nerds used the photo of one of those creatures' skull to match it up with the bite marks on this whale. And they did. And the only thing that was different is that they had to enlarge the record skull to match the bite marks, and it would have made this creature 50 to 60 feet long.
Oh shit!
Yeah,
that's nothing to fuck with right there.
Yeah, so I'll put a link to the pictures. It had other battle damage on it, but the thing didn't make it. It didn't want to go back to wherever. It seemed like it had been chased or pursued for quite some time. There is a dude, and boy, I really want to try to get him on, guys. We haven't had a guest on in a long time, and I know that a few people have asked that we try to get one on once in a while. But there's this author that I heard on a program recently, Max Hawthorne, who's written a few books. They're kind of fiction about this Kronosaurus existing still, but he's done a lot of research into sightings of these things, of whale eaters, and he had a lot to say about this site. I mean, he said that this is, a modern example of what this could be. This could be the victim of one of these creatures, and it's just interesting what the little investigating that's done has led to exactly what they think it is. But that's the whale eater.
What do you think? You think it's for real?
With ocean shit, it's so hard to say. Something like that definitely could be living out there feeding on animals, but I mean, do they have the sense to stay away from the shore? Who knows? There's always been crazy fishermen's tales about creatures from the sea, so I mean, we can't go by that. Unless we're going to believe all of them in every map that has a drawing of a sea beast or something like that. But
I want them all to be real.
Same here.
I want the sea to be the most terrifying place on earth. Like, you go too far out, you get eaten by fucking gigantic monsters or get sucked into a vortex. Like, well, I still want the middle of the ocean to be magical and scary.
Yeah, I want like the ocean to be like a big secret. Like once you get past the horizon, it just gets super duper dark and violent seas, and it's like all of a sudden you go, "Whoa, I'm not meant to be here." And
yeah, you hear the screaming eels.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah, dude. And then a real life kraken pops up, and sea serpent starts wrapping itself around a ship, and then a giant octopus comes up and fights everybody, and then Godzilla just for kicks, because why the hell not? And then that giant lobster monster that Godzilla fought that I don't remember the name of, and it's like a whole giant monster battle royale right there in the ocean, and it's so awesome.
Dude, just imagine going on some cruise and sneaking away in some room to smoke a doob, and you find some engineering room where they're just dropping these huge barrels into the water that have blinking lights. And they're like, "What are you doing here?" And like, "What are you doing here, man?" And they're like, "Those are the decoys, bro. We got to drop these every 60 miles. So if there's something that's tailing us, it goes after that, and we can keep outrunning it." That'd be fucking nuts.
Without being eaten. Oh God, I would love it. This huge conspiracy to keep everybody ignorant of the giant sea beasts that exist out there. Yep. Oh, that's a world I want to live in.
Hell yeah.
So awesome.
All sea-bearing people are sworn to a deep code of secrecy.
Yeah, they are too.
There are no hurricanes. That is that Kraken, you fucks.
Yeah. The news is spinning it. They're not showing you what's really there. It's this huge worldwide conspiracy just to fucking hide the existence of them.
Yep.
The general public can't know, because if we don't sacrifice the occasional ship to the sea beasts, they'll start ravaging the land and eating us on the land.
Yep.
And we can't do anything about it. So we're like, you know what? Just keep it a secret, and there'll be enough foolish people that'll go and get lost at sea and get eaten that we don't need to worry about it.
Yep, they'll never survive to tell their tale anyway.
No, they won't, because who's going to be able to defeat the Kraken?
Or Lobster Man.
Yeah, or the Lobster Man. Or if you fall overboard, you what are you going to do when the screaming eels show up? Andre the Giant's not going to save you, buddy.
All right, what else do you got in that bag?
Well, let's get this out. Oh, this hoary old chestnut. So this was a story that I had heard about, like, I think it was 2009 or 10 when this story came out. But there's this website that was called, actually, hold on, I want to get the exact name of it. It's called thebeatlesneverbroakeup.com. The website no longer exists. If you Google it, it'll pop up, and all this information, well, not all this information, but you'll see, like, it'll look like the page still exists, but when you click on it, it redirects you to a pharmaceutical company. So I don't know what that's all about. But this story came out on the internet and through this website, basically, and it kind of went viral. And it was posted by someone who was using the pen name James Richards. He was using the first names, the legal first names of Paul McCartney and Ringo Starr, which is James and Richard. But he posted this story that he was... First of all, there's a few different stories, or a few different versions of the story, rather. But in the original story, he was out walking his dog, and he tripped over a rock and hit his head. And when he woke up, there was this man named Jonas who started talking to him and told him that he came from a parallel universe, and he, I guess, struck up a friendship with this James Richards character and offered to take him to a different reality. And so they started, I guess, just talking about their interests, and music came up, and they both were big fans of the Beatles. And in Jonas's timeline, the Beatles never broke up, and they were still touring. George and John were both still alive. They hadn't been, or George didn't die. John Lennon wasn't murdered, and they were still touring and putting out music. And he had this album that was called Everyday Chemistry, and it was supposed to be this Beatles album that doesn't exist in our timeline, but it exists in their timeline.
That's fucking cool.
Yeah. And so they were listening to it, and he's like, "Oh, this is great, but this Jonas guy said he can't bring it back. He can't bring anything back with him." So he's like, "Oh, okay. Well, let me just look through your tape collection, because for some reason they were still using cassette tapes." And he was like kind of just looking through them, and when Jonas wasn't looking, he pocketed Everyday Chemistry, which was on a blank. It was a blank cassette tape, like, back in the day what you'd make a mixtape on. And it had the track listing on there, and he brought it back. It's you can listen to it in its entirety on YouTube right now. And basically what it is just mashups of hits from all four guys from later in their career. He would just take different songs. Like, for instance, the first track is called Four Guys, and he uses Band on the Run by Wings mashed up with When We Was Fab by George Harrison, parts of I'm Moving On by Yoko Ono, and part of Vertical Man by Ringo Starr. And he kind of mashed it all together to make it a new song. But he did that with every song on this track listing, or so it would seem. But he's claiming that this was a Beatles album that only exists in a parallel universe. And what he says, how he defends it by saying it's not a mashup, because clearly Band on the Run is a song that it's very recognizable, and it's a huge part of the song Four Guys. That's basically the backbone of that song. But he said, and it's a decent point, but he said, just because in your timeline the Beatles broke up and came up with these songs as solo projects doesn't mean that in a different timeline these ideas weren't still there, and they were able to bring these ideas together and create these songs.
Now, is this album like comprehensible music, or is it literally just...
Yeah, no, it's, I mean, it's, to me, it definitely sounds like mashups, but it's pretty cool. Like, it's definitely, if you're a Beatles fan, it's a pretty cool project.
Now, what do we know about the dude who's claiming that he pocketed this tape? Is he a musician?
We know very little about him. And like I said, his story changed from time to time. There was originally he was walking the dog, and he tripped and fell and hit his head. Another story, the dog wasn't present. He was just walking and tripped over a rock and hit his head. It typically, when he wakes up, this Jonas guy is there, and they start talking. But in one telling of the story, he woke up in this room full of electronics, and that's where he met Jonas. And then they struck up a conversation about their interests and their music. So there's a few different versions of the story. To me, it just sounds like an early attempt at going viral on the internet.
Yeah, it sure does.
But I've loved the story. I remember hearing about it when the website kind of first started, and I listened to the album back then, and I thought the story was great. I found it on a message board, links to the website, and then people were discussing it, and it was such a cool story, and it's, definitely, it's not something that I believe, but to me it's just fun and it's weird, and it fits in with this fly by the seat of our pants show. So we'll have to put that in the show notes as well. But the album is called Everyday Chemistry. If you look it up on YouTube, it's posted, because This guy that whoever this guy really was, he posted the whole album on his website. So it sounds more like this website was done to create a project, but the website's taken down now. So what if the dude was legit and Jonas got pissed? He found out about it and came back, killed the dude, and erased his website. But because he's from a different universe, he doesn't know about YouTube yet, and it's all over YouTube now, and he can never wipe it.
Yeah, there's nothing he can do.
Yeah, but this poor bastard's probably dead. He was probably killed by Jonas. He just opens the time portal, comes through, and just blasts him, and then gets on the internet and deletes the website. You'll never know, muhaha. But the story spreads on the internet. Sorry, Jonas, but we all know. We all know the truth. You can't kill us all, Jonas.
Just don't tempt me.
Don't tempt me. I'll come for you, fucker.
That is a cool story, though. That is neat. Even if it's like some type of performance project or just social experiment.
I'm sure that's probably what it was. But
yeah,
again, I want to live in a world where it's not. I want to live in a world where James Richard was vaporized by Jonas, and somewhere Jonas is thinking he won, but he doesn't know how the internet works.
There's no email where Jonas is from.
No. I mean, they're still using cassette tapes, so.
Yeah. They're not much better off in that reality.
No. Maybe they're just a couple decades behind us in that reality.
Losers.
Yeah. I bet they still think mullets are unironically cool.
Yeah.
So that's it for the Beatles. You have anything else in that magical book of yours?
Yeah, I think I have one more that I saw when I was trifling through here. Let's see here. Yeah, this is a recent one too that I saw on some video. But it was interesting enough, and again, like you said, fits right in with this wacky show. But in the 1873 edition of the London Times reported that on December 8th, Thomas Cumpston, horrible last name, and his wife traveled to Bristol.
Wait, how do you spell it?
Cumpston.
Oh, okay. Never mind.
Oh, but they traveled to Bristol for a vacation, and they rented like a flat at the Victoria Hotel. And one evening, they started hearing a strange sound coming from the bedroom. They reported it to the landlady, but she decided not to do anything about it. But the sound stopped, so they went about their business and went to bed for the night. But around 3 a.m., they were startled awake by the return of the strange sounds that were now coming from under their bed.
Oh, shit.
Yeah. So when they went to get off the bed to see what was going on, they said that the floorboards were all misshapen and bent. They then started to call out for help, but said that their yells were shouted back at them by an unseen force. They had enough, and they went to make a break for the exit of the room when a hole opened up in the middle of the floor and started to suck them both into it. And they only survived because...
Oh my God, it's like Poltergeist.
Yeah, or Evil Dead. But dude's wife had to grab him to stop him from going in, and they only escaped by jumping out a nearby window. And they were so frantic and frightened that when the authorities actually got there, after all their hollering, they were arrested for disorderly conduct. But the charges were eventually dropped, as the landlady testified that she heard the noises when they first reported them as well. And they said that they made comment that they were so believable in their story that they just couldn't bring themselves to charge them with any type of disorderly conduct. And again, in 1940, one Reverend Biles of South Devon, England, reported that one morning him and his wife decided to go for a walk in the church's courtyard. And during their stroll, they noticed a seemingly bottomless pit had appeared in the path ahead of them. After examining it, they decided to get some wood to cover the hole so that nobody could fall into it. So they went back into the church to a shed, and when they got back, they said that the hole was completely gone.
Oh man, it sounds like this place is built on some sort of monster, and the monster just opens its mouth and it's like, feed me, and if nothing goes in, it closes its mouth and it'll just open elsewhere. hoping something will fall in and feed him.
Yeah.
It's like a sarlacc.
And here's another one. It's pretty vague, but the report states that a nursing student was in her living room when a giant hole appeared on the floor and grew until it was almost as big as the entire living room itself. And she said that she could not see the bottom of this hole, and she heard a voice come from the hole that urged her to jump into it. And when she didn't, it just closed and disappeared, and everything returned back to normal.
Hey, you, jump into my hole. I don't know. No, I'm not jumping in your hole. Hey, come on, jump in my hole. It'll be fun. Everybody likes to jump in my hole.
I would just yell back, has that ever worked?
Has that ever worked for you, hole? Has it? No. It just closes up and disappears and go reforms somewhere else and tries again. Hey, jump in my hole. No, I'm not jumping in your hole, you son of a bitch.
Most of the time, he can't muster up the courage to ask or suggest it, so it just appears and disappears with nobody noticing.
It's just a constant fear of rejection. It's no one ever wants to jump in my hole. I'm not going to even ask anymore. Every time I do, they just say no. I just want to jump.
And when it got to that young nursing student, he was like, all right, last time it was an old reverend dude at a church. He pops open. It's a
maybe this time I've got a chance.
Yeah, it was a young, pretty nurse student. He was like, holy shit. All right, I'm going to do it.
Yeah.
Hey, jump in. She just looks down it, spits, and it closes, and he cries.
Yeah, he goes and cries himself to sleep. Poor hole. All he wants is someone to jump in it. just jump in the hole. So I challenge you, dear listener, if you ever come upon a hole that asks you to jump in it, please jump in it.
I don't recommend that.
Think of the hole. Don't listen to Mateo. Think of the hole. You don't want to make the hole sad. Think of all the rejection he has to face.
Think about all the wrath it might produce later.
I recommend just cannonballing right into it.
Yeah.
You know.
Double down.
Yeah. I mean, at worst, you'll be digested slowly over 1,000 years. At best, maybe you got a fucking roommate down there who's got a thermal detonator and can get you out of there. I don't know. Maybe. I think you should take the chance. just dive right in.
Maybe you just freeze in time in a stupid diving pose for all eternity.
Oh, wouldn't that be embarrassing?
Like celestial beings float by and look at you and go, what the fuck is that guy doing?
You are forever Greg Louganis.
Thank you for listening to the Whatcast. You can find us on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, iTunes, and YouTube. Enjoy the podcast. Get yourself a Whatcast t-shirt or a sticker pack. Who was that dude on that one episode? Try the links in Homie's page. All this and more can be found at www.thewhatcasters.com. Thanks again for listening and have a great week.